Welcome to the Aim High podcast. Today we're joined by Christine Hsu. Christine is a powerhouse in the world of real estate. As the founder of NobliVest, Christine has successfully built a career helping clients achieve their investment dreams. Don't miss this inspiring conversation with a true industry trailblazer. Find out how she started in real estate and how working with others helped her to grow in the space. Find out all of that and more today, where we provide real estate investors with the tools to achieve generational wealth. Welcome to the Aim High podcast. I'm your host, Bud Evans. Good day, everyone, and welcome to the Aim High podcast. I am your host, Bud Evans. Today, I am joined by Christine Hsu. How are you today?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Thank you so much for having me. It's truly my pleasure.
Terrific. Christine, would you mind doing me a favor and just give me a quick intro?
Yes. So my name is Christine Hsu. I am with NobliVest, which is my company. I currently live in New York, and I was formerly a W-2 employee as a food scientist in the food industry and retired in 2023 or 2020. Sorry, 2020. We're in 2023 now, to pursue real estate full time. And so it was a big change for me back then. But started off, we sold our primary home as a family to buy a duplex to house hack. So we had moved from New Jersey over to New York. And then in that same year, we also bought our first rental property with the BRRRR strategy, which stands for buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and repeat. And so use that strategy to do that several times with 4 properties in total in Philadelphia. And with that, also invested as a limited partner in a real estate syndication and became hooked on the multifamily side. Yeah, that's how I started off in real estate.
Outstanding. Terrific. Now, I know this is going back. You and I work in similar markets. I am currently in South Jersey. I also operate in Pittsburgh, and I live literally right across the river from the city of Philadelphia. But tell us about your first deal.
Yeah. My first deals, I guess they all happened at the same time. There was a lot of things. I quit my job. We sold our house, bought a 2-family house hack, and then bought the investment property. So I'll talk about that one investment property as being our first official deal. That one was in West Philly. It was one of those row homes, and purchased it from another investor on the MLS. And yeah, I was just learning about the BRRRR strategy. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. You can buy a property and pull out all your cash afterwards and just keep doing the same thing with the same pot of money. That first deal was interesting. It was a big learning lesson. So I bought it. I thought the numbers all worked. I thought with my analyzer, I was like, oh, this is great. It's not a home run deal, but it works. And as I got to the renovation stage, when I saw the property, did the inspections, everything came out okay. Like I thought it was just going to be cosmetic rehab, but it ended up, they opened up the ceiling and everything was completely rotted through. Basically right below the bathroom, the upstairs bathroom, I think there was a leak a long time ago, but you could see all the joists just like collapsing. Mm-hmm. So literally it's probably just seconds away after opening it from completely collapsing down. And so that was a big learning in itself. I don't know what I could have done to avoid that situation because you can't obviously look in between the walls and in the ceilings. But that ended up being a really expensive renovation, far more expensive than what I had spent to acquire the property. And yeah, it was just good times. Really interesting. Well, I think I was like maybe 20 or 25K over budget on the rehab. Went through 6 work change orders. And yeah, it took maybe about 6 weeks longer than what was anticipated for timing, which isn't too bad. Sometimes it could be worse than that. But yeah, I think my numbers were completely shot. And I think the amount that I spent, I was still able to refinance. That was okay. Was able to get a tenant in. But at the end of the day, the amount of money that I spent, I was not able to pull out all of my cash,
Okay.
put into the deal or capital. It would have been the same if I just spent the money to buy a turnkey property
Yeah.
and
Oh,
not go
goodness.
through the work and the headaches. So that was really, it was a learning opportunity for sure. And I think in real estate, there's never really lost money unless if you like foreclose on a property. But
Yeah.
I feel like long term, I still recoup those losses that I wasn't able to pull out from the refinance. So that's what I love about real estate is as long as you hold it for long enough, even in any like market downturn or whatever situation, spend overspending on the budget, you can still recoup your losses long term.
Yeah, it's the difference between realized and unrealized losses or gains. So over the course of time,
Exactly.
as long as you don't sell the property, you're okay. It's when you actually
Right.
get rid of the place that you realize the loss, and that's when it hurts the most. So how much did you
Yeah.
leave in the deal?
I left about 50,000 in the deal.
Okay, but you were cash flowing at the end of it.
Yes, I'm cash flowing. Yeah.
Okay, and you still have it.
I do. I
Oh,
do still have it.
outstanding. Okay, terrific. Now, was that your worst deal, or do you have any other nightmare stories? Because if you left some money in it, which maybe you didn't expect to do, but you got some shell shock with the leaky bathroom. But was
Right.
that your absolute worst deal, or anything else?
I think from a numbers perspective, that probably was my worst deal, but I've had a few other properties where it was just headaches, the headaches of
Yeah.
being a landlord, right? And most recently, I had a property that I was trying to sell. It was listed for several months. I think it was on the market for maybe 8 months before it finally sold. But it was in a rough neighborhood. That specific block had a lot of drug activity.
Mhm.
And so I think the dealers that were on that block found it an opportunity to use a vacant property to deal out of and to do their business out of. And that in itself was a really interesting an interesting story because I had called the police, I called the utility companies to try to do something to get them out, and none of those strategies were effective. And literally I had to hire someone to physically go and remove these individuals from the property almost at gunpoint. So that was something really another interesting adventure of being a landlord. And I feel like that's kind of part of real estate and of being the landlord. There's really no dull moments. There's always something interesting and adventurous that does happen.
That is
um,
true.
yeah. So from a I think from a numbers perspective, that first deal was probably the worst deal, but then just a lot of other situations have occurred that I understand might prevent people from wanting to go down this path.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's exactly why we're doing this, right? The reason that the Aim High podcast exists is to show people that no matter how bad it feels or looks when you first start out, as long as you buy real estate and wait, as opposed to
Mhm.
waiting to buy real estate, you'll eventually wind up ahead.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's 100%. And most of these properties, except for the one that was sold, I still have in my portfolio and they are cash flowing. So they're definitely longer term.
Outstanding. Yeah, that's the deal though, isn't it? You want to get into this thing, or this industry, you want to gather as much as you can, gather as many properties as you can, and then over the
Yes.
course of time, maintain the cash flow and increase the appreciation and
Mhm.
create that pool of generational wealth.
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So talk to me about NobliVest. NobliVest. Talk to me about NobliVest because this is
Yeah.
this is I don't want to say it's new to me. I do know people who have funds who do partner and do syndications, but yours is a
Mhm.
little different.
Yeah. So we kind of moved towards the multifamily and syndications route. I was doing the BRRRR strategy and the single families, and I just figured maybe it's time to scale, to go a little bit bigger, and to also work with others and work with partners. And at that time, in addition to doing all the active investing, I also invested myself as a limited partner because I had some extra capital that I had saved up. And I knew that I was limited on the time that I had to be acquiring properties. I have kids, and just it was taking a lot of my time. And so I went that route of going as a limited partner first, and then going into the co-GP as a general partner, and then as a fund manager. And then through that, had developed this company called NobliVest with my business partner, Margaret. So we both came together. She was actually my first introduction to syndications. I met her on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is just a really powerful way to meet people. And I think that's how I met you as well.
It is. Yeah.
Yes, just I didn't know anything about syndications, and she had just opened this whole new world to me, that this was a possibility to basically not have to go through the pain of being a landlord, like I had explained earlier, and invest passively into real estate. So this is a really great option for those who may have a full-time job or are working on other ventures that don't have time to be doing renovations, to be doing acquisitions or wholesaling, any of that stuff. And so I was like, oh, this is really cool. And so I had decided to move towards that route. And now we do mostly multifamily. We also have funds. Within our funds, one of them is a short-term rentals fund. We have over 80 properties within that one fund. And we all know that short-term rentals right now are fairly high yield. And so if you're looking for more cash flow, that's a really great vehicle. And then also most of them are multifamily syndications. So there's two options that we do: work with our partners either as a general partner or as a fund manager through that.
Awesome. Yeah. You don't see too many people who put together a fund that's specific to short-term rentals.
I think increasingly now people are starting to go down that route, because you can see if one property does tend to cash flow quite a bit. Like I have a friend who has just one property in the Catskills, cash flowing up to $10,000 a month. And imagine if you had 80 properties in a fund doing that as well. It's really quite a big money maker, I would say, at the end of the day.
I would say, yeah, that's fantastic. And it's a great program that you have going on. That's what you currently have going on, but what are you looking at in the future?
Mhm. Yeah, so there's no secret that we are in some transitions with the market and the
Mhm.
economy, and certainly with interest rates being where they are. Things are getting a little bit more challenging in terms of cash flow. For me, I'm big on the cash flow play. That's why I love real estate. But now it's just being creative and nimble. And so now a lot of the deals that we look at and are working on are either subject to,
Mhm.
or seller financing, because a lot of people who have acquired properties in the last few years were able to lock in really great rates.
Mhm.
Why not just assume those loans at the really great rate? It's a win-win for everyone at the end of the day. If the seller really wants to offload that property from their portfolio,
Mhm.
just work with them to kind of assume that loan, as opposed to those 7 to 8% interest rates that we're dealing with now that really are not going to yield literally any cash flow. So we're changing our strategy a bit. And yeah, just making sure that we're nimble, that we're adapting to the environment we're in.
Mhm.
The, there are still deals out there, and really great deals. It's just knowing the strategy in terms of how to acquire them and how to manage them.
Yeah. Christine, I just have something that just popped into my mind, but what is the average that someone asks for out of pocket, or to put in their pocket more specifically, when you do get into a seller finance or a sub two deal with multifamily properties?
It really depends on the situation. It, it's hard to say one situation applies to all of them because it's so unique. Literally every deal is unique, and you have to just work with them. So a lot of times they may want a percentage of whatever is equitable or is the
Hmm.
equity of that property. If they are in distress, they're certainly more willing to work with you, and you can
Yeah.
have better negotiation terms there. It really just depends. I can't really answer that question.
No,
Really depends on the
you just did. You just did, and perfectly. By the way, honestly, I teach some sub two and some seller finance and how to deal with that, and that's
Mhm.
exactly what I was looking for. So thank you for that. That was awesome.
Yeah, I think really the big thing is just communication.
Hmm.
It's really understanding where they are and meeting them in their terms and making it work for both the seller and the buyer at the end of the day. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Now, what is one thing you learned because you started out house hacking and then got your first rental property, but what's one thing that you learned as your wealth really started to increase?
It's the power of leverage. I In the last maybe 3, 4 years, I've really studied the wealthy, like how their minds work, how they think. And it's all about leverage. It's
Mhm.
leveraging not just money, but also people, partners. A recent book that I read, amazing, is Who Not How. It's
Mhm.
leveraging other people who have more abilities than you to make it a win-win situation with them and to really do more and go bigger and more vast. I think it's just utilizing the tools that are around you in a very strategic way to get to your goal, and not just your own goals, but also those around you who have shared not just shared interests, but also shared goals, common goals, and achieving it together. And that really includes anyone, not just your business partners, but also your lenders, your sellers that you work with. If you're working with realtors or brokers, it's them as well. I think it's a very relationship business. Despite, like, even if you're not in multifamily, if you're just doing single families, it's still very relationship based because you are depending on many others that are experts in what they do to really work towards that big goal. I think that's one thing that I've really learned as I've
Yeah,
come down this path.
absolutely. One of the things that I say all the time is this business is based around collaboration, not competition. And
Exactly.
50% of a great deal is better than 100% of no deal at all. So the more people that you have on your team that are quality people, and the integration versus visionary and all that, we could go down that path. But yeah, that's a fantastic point, that knowing people and establishing those relationships. As a matter of fact, I have it over my shoulder here. Network is your net worth.
Yeah,
The more quality people that you have surrounded yourself with, the better off you'll be in the long run.
absolutely. Yes. It's so very powerful.
Yeah.
Yes.
Are you ready to take your real estate investments sky high? Aim High REI is the perfect Facebook community for you. Get answers from experienced investors, connect with other motivated individuals, and benefit from valuable resources all in one place. If that sounds like something that interests you, join our amazing network today, and we'll help elevate your investing journey beyond what you think is possible. Aim High REI is on Facebook. Just click the link down in the show notes. The best part, it's completely free to join. I help new real estate investors overcome the fear of failure and achieve generational wealth through buying rental properties. Go to budevans.com and book a call with me to find out why we guarantee your first rental property. Thanks. Now back to the show. Christine, we're going to go into the Soaring Four. These are the same 4 questions that I ask every guest that could help someone who is starting out or already at the beginning of their career achieve new heights. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Outstanding. Okay, what is one thing that you use to keep you motivated?
Oh, so going back to people and partners and surrounding yourself with people who are on the same track or same goals as you, it's really, for me, I have my crew of people that whenever I hit a wall on something, when I talk to them, I get revitalized. So it's having those people around you, surrounding yourselves with them, that really keeps me personally motivated.
Awesome. What is one thing that you learned that completely changed your mindset?
One thing that I've learned is, yeah, going back to leverage is just leveraging others and really bringing as much value as you can in the flip side with reciprocity.
I saw Robert Kiyosaki one time said, I'm not rich because I'm not in debt. I'm rich because I leverage. So, yeah, great
That's
point.
great.
What are the tools that you use to keep yourself on track?
Yeah, so I utilize a lot of pretty much time management tools,
Mhm.
things like Monday, Slack to help with collaboration, as well as I keep a journal. So that kind of helps collect my thoughts on the personal side. I like to write down in the morning a few things that I hope to accomplish in the day, and then revisit that before I go to bed to just see where things are and plan for the next day. So there's personal tools that I use from the journal perspective, and then there's tools that I use in collaboration with my business partners and others around me.
Great. And then finally, what is one thing you'd change if you had to start all over?
To be honest, I don't know if I would change very much. Yeah, I wouldn't say my path has been 100% smooth, but I really appreciate those speed bumps and the little hiccups because those were the biggest learning opportunities. And I personally learn best by experiencing them. And so I really have appreciation for the failures and the hardships that I've come up against. So I wouldn't change too much, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah, hey, listen, you got to learn how to lose in order to realize how sweet winning actually is.
Yeah. It's part of the process.
Are you ready to take your real estate investments sky high? Aim High REI is the perfect Facebook community for you. Get answers from experienced investors, connect with other motivated individuals, and benefit from valuable resources all in one place. If that sounds like something that interests you, join our amazing network today and we'll help elevate your investing journey beyond what you think is possible. Aim High REI is on Facebook. Just click the link down in the show notes. The best part, it's completely free to join. I help new real estate investors overcome the fear of failure and achieve generational wealth through buying rental properties. Go to budevans.com and book a call with me to find out why we guarantee your first rental property. Thanks. Now back to the show. Exactly. Christine, thank you very much for coming on today. I really do appreciate your time. I know you have a lot on your plate, so I really do appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. It was really great talking with you.
Likewise. For those of you watching on YouTube or listening on the podcast, until next time we meet, aim high.